Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary here in Central Virginia to share another contemplative focus with you today. And the focus I'm sharing with you today is I am consciousness. All is consciousness. I am the extraordinary in the ordinary. Beyond concept, and through my focused practice of meditation and holistic lifestyle, the subtle vibrations of consciousness are now my vibrations. I sing the song of oneness and share this with my world. In this, my ordinary experience has become extraordinary. So, what does it mean, the extraordinary in the ordinary? As an illustration, I will share some of my experience as I journeyed my journey, as I evolved, as my consciousness evolved to the point that it is in now. So I remember way back when, in the 70s, I did have what is called an awakening experience, where suddenly I was brought to a level of awareness that I'd never ever experienced before, that I had no preparation for, to my knowledge anyway. And it was an extremely powerful experience where I left my body, journeyed into realms of more subtle dimensions of myself, all the way to pure nothingness. And it was one of the most powerful, expansive experiences I've ever had in my life. And then, as suddenly as it began, it ended. And I was standing where I was standing. I was in my apartment. I was in my normal, in my ordinary situation. And yet, the vibrations of that experience were so powerful, they remained within me for some time. Almost a whole year, to be exact. And I had no training, no education, I had no teacher. Didn't really understand what that experience was or what to do with that experience. Consequently, I could not hold on to that experience. I had more work to do before I could become anchored in that experience, and that is really where my conscious journey of the spiritual truth of who I am began. And I immediately, of course, started to address certain things. I started to practice various forms of meditation. I experimented with different schools of meditation. And this helped, and this was part of the journey, of course, but with no training and no guidance, I really didn't know what to do with my experiences that came along with such a practice. Eventually, however, I did find synchronicity, and once I experienced the soundtracks from synchronicity, I never looked back. And in that experience, over a short period of time of about 1 year, I decided to attend a program here with my teacher, who was to become my teacher. And here I am today, some 30 years later, and what has evolved from this time and this focus of daily meditation and a holistic lifestyle is that the experiential, the vibrational experience of source consciousness is happening in me consistently. It's with me all day. It's with me when I go to sleep. It's with me when I wake up. It is a constant focus on the interior of my being that happens simultaneous to the experience I'm having in this moment, looking at a camera, sharing this contemplative focus with you. So, and in this progressive evolutionary experience that I have, the context of this, which I also want to share right now, is simply this. What I will say is, in our holistic model of reality, it is the play of the primary intention within consciousness as the substratum of all manifestation. So its primary purpose is to fully experience itself, and that is exactly what it's doing. But consciousness is what it is. It's far beyond anything manifest. Its existence does not depend on any manifestation. So why human beings? Why this? What are we doing here? It is using pretense. It is pretending to be what it is not. And in this, it evolves through its diversification in form. It evolves itself through individuated forms of itself. And you and I are individuated forms of consciousness. So we experience that primary intention unfolding in our lives. Depending on where you are in this progressive evolution, meditation may be something that you are already doing, or meditation may be something that you have only thought of, or you may not have any knowledge of meditation and no interest in meditation. Because the way that this progressive evolution works is that first you must experience who you are not, because you are consciousness. And so you're going to experience fully who you are not in truth. And once you become fulfilled in that experience, once you have had enough of that pretense, then a shift occurs. A shift may be like the one I just shared with you, or it may be unfold differently, but it will be a shift to a more truthful experience of who you are. And gradually, the identification, the strength of the illusion of who you are not will begin to give way to the truth of who you are. This is what's happening in my life. It's happening in all lives. It's what is happening on earth, always. So, one of the quotes that I always liked, that is posted in many places here at the sanctuary, is a quote from St. Francis, and it goes like, "What you are looking for is what is looking." I used to look at that quote oftentimes here, of course, and I always liked it. It's simple, it was straightforward, and it was simply pointing to what is. So, the truthful answer to who I am is, I am me. Simultaneous to being in a human form, having a name, having my history as human, the experience, the vibrational presence of Source consciousness is happening as well. And this is how this evolutionary process works, at least in my experience anyway. And it continues to grow of its own accord because it keeps my attention and my focus on the interior of my being, the positive polarity in the polarized field of all experience. And this is how we create balance, which in turn creates wholeness, which in turn creates illumination and the experience of who we truly are. So in the beginning days, we struggled. We first began with our mental dimension. We started to learn how to witness our thoughts rather than maintain a unconscious identification with our thoughts. And then we practice other various things, diet, exercise, holistic lifestyle, to bring more balance to the physical dimension and to the mental dimension and the emotional dimension. And over time, the activity of the negative polarity began to be balanced out with a positive polarity of being versus becoming. And gradually, as this process increases, if you maintain such a focus, the presence of the positive polarity, which was once minimal, now begins to become equal to and greater than the presence of the negative polarity. They're both present. You need both to have the human experience. So it's not a question of killing the ego. It's not a question of judging or denying the ego. The ego is just an individualized expression of consciousness. So, and we're all consciousness, so we're all an individualized expression of the same source consciousness. So even though my experience as becoming increasingly the extraordinary in the ordinary, it is not something that I consider to employ through ego identification, because it's not that. It's the opposite of that. It's a humbling experience, and it's one that evokes gratitude. It evokes all the positive emotional experiences that one could possibly have. You're just so grateful. You're so happy for no reason. And the world around me and my experiences within it are radically different than what I used to have as my norm. There's still the play of emotions. There's still the play of thoughts. There's still the play of the body. But within all of this, there is a constant focus of witnessing, a constant experience of being more than that. Consequently, the emotions don't have much power. Not that I don't experience them. I do. I experience thoughts. I experience everything I used to experience, but it is so reduced in power that there is no, I would say, huge shift in my experience as a result, because the polarities of positive and negative are now have shifted to a point where the play of the negative polarity in my experience as human is reduced in its radicality. If I get a negative thought, it has no power or very little power, and I just move on, because the reverberation that I experience as a constant is too powerful for anything like a thought or a feeling to hold on. It's not something that I need to go into or to explore. It has no importance other than the fact that it just happened like a cloud in the sky, passing through. And that's how I experience the things that I used to experience as very strong and very real. A bad mood was something that would pretty much cloud my entire experience for days, sometimes a week, in my clearing processes. Now, things come and go very quickly. And as I progress in my ongoing maintenance of my lifestyle, my holistic lifestyle, as I continue to meditate on a daily basis, as I continue to spend much of my time looking at spiritually oriented, contextual videos and written material, my evolution keeps going and going and going without interruption. So I am consciousness All is consciousness. I am the extraordinary in the ordinary. You are consciousness. Everyone is consciousness. Everyone is the extraordinary in the ordinary. There was a description once, I forget exactly where it was from. I believe it was from the Chinese traditions of meditation and lifestyle, wherein the journey was described as, in the beginning, the mountain is the mountain and the river is the river. And then the mountain ceases to be the mountain and the river is no longer the river. But towards the end of the journey, the mountain is once again the mountain and the river is the river. And this is a progressive evolution of human experience, going from a dominant negative polarity, where the mountain is the mountain and the river is the river, something in existence but separate from yourself, to the change where the mountain is no longer the mountain, because your identification with the mountain is not as something separate from you. Okay, and then gradually progresses further into the awareness that everything is consciousness and you are consciousness. So once again, in the new awareness, the mountain is the mountain and the river is the river and you are you. And yet it is an extraordinary experience and radically different than the one you began with. So this is the journey of meditation and holistic lifestyle as I have experienced it, and is what I share with you today. And I believe that's probably enough for now. So, irregardless of where you are in your journey, if meditation is something that you are considering, if you're exploring, if you're practicing, keep it up. Because in truth, you have no choice. The primary intention in consciousness is a primary intention that lives in you. It lives in every human being on the planet. And they're simply playing out what they have to play out to honor and materialize that intention. So, I am consciousness, you are consciousness, everything is consciousness. The extraordinary is the ordinary. I will be back again next week to share another contemplative focus with you, and I hope this is of some use to you, that it helps you to get a little insight into your journey and to help you move on. So until next week, this is Jim Clark at the Synchronicity Sanctuary saying, until next time, may your experience be the extraordinary in the ordinary.